Welcome to a broadcast of the recent Lorain County Commissioners' General Meeting. Unless otherwise announced, meetings are held Wednesday morning at 9:30 at the Administration Building, 226 Middle Avenue, 4th floor, downtown Elyria. These are public meetings and you are invited to attend. Agendas are posted prior to the meeting at www.loraincounty.us. Click on Departments to see the Commissioners page, then click on View Agenda.
Good morning. Can we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Want me to open it? Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the August 3rd meeting of the Lorain County Board of Commissioners. Commissioner Kalo has a beautiful dog this morning.
Our featured dog this week is about a 3-year-old male German Shepherd, and he looks to be a pure German Shepherd. He was a stray found off of East 30th Street in Lorain. Great personality, beautiful color, great to get along with. If you're looking for a large dog, he looks perfect, and he'll be available Saturday afternoon at 3. And if you're looking for other dogs, how many more we have there today? Jack, where are we at? 45. We have 45 dogs available, so please stop down because we'd much rather have them adopted out than have to euthanize them.
Yep, we need your help. He looks like a canine. Maybe some policeman will be watching and want to take him and turn him into a nice... Perkins needs a dog? Okay. Somebody needs to take him. He's beautiful.
Madam Clerk?
The first we'll do Mr. Bailey, Solid Waste Director, Keep America Beautiful Awards.
Good morning, Keith.
Good morning.
Commissioners, we received recently 2 awards from the Keep America Beautiful, which we are a national affiliate of, Lorain County is. And the first award was the President's Award for completing all our programs that we outlined in our KAB application throughout the year. And the second award is a unique one from the fact that it's a USDA People's Garden Award, where we planted 8 edible gardens, and they have to be a collaborative effort. They have to be a benefit to community. They have to demonstrate sustainable projects and promote health and wellness in the community and give an opportunity for education of children. This year, we're going to nominate the group from Church of Open Door and the Filtrex Corporation. They did over 100 edible gardens in our community, which were done on the Filtrex socks. Filtrex Corporation is in Grafton, Ohio, and I've worked with them for years. So,
Awesome.
All right.
Great job.
Great job.
Thank
you.
Thank you very much. Keep it up.
At 10 o'clock, we're going to have the prosecutor present his budget, 12 o'clock the coroner's budget, and then 1:30 will be our Transportation Improvement District meeting. Under Resolutions Number 1, Job and Family Services Bills.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Mr. Williams.
Aye.
Investments.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Kowski. Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Mr. Williams.
Aye.
Appropriations.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Mr. Williams.
Aye.
Transfers.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Mr. Williams.
Aye.
There were none.
Were there none? Okay. Requisition, no advances, no repayments, requisitions.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
I just have one quick question. Clemens and Nelson had a requisition in there and they had some mileage reimbursement. I was just wondering if they follow the county's policy for their rate or do they go by a different standard?
They go by their, whatever is in their engagement letter. So I can check on what the rate is. I don't really know what it is, but I know that they have their own engagement letter for fees.
Doesn't follow our county policy because they are at 51 cents right now for a June 20th
And certainly,
requisition.
I believe that they could be convinced to accept whatever reimbursement we do, if that's what you would desire.
When's the billing from prior to, though, our resolution here?
Well, I don't know,
Lorain?
maybe going forward from, when did we do that resolution for the reduction in
It took effect July 1st.
July 1st?
Yeah.
So this one would still be under the old policy anyways, but going forward from July, don't you think we should have them follow what
I can.
the rest of the county? Okay. Thank you.
Do you want me to look? Does it say anything in there?
It's a June 20th, so it would fall under the old one.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Williams?
Aye.
Travel?
So moved.
Second?
Discussion. Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Williams?
Aye.
Bills?
So moved.
Second?
Discussion. Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Williams?
Aye.
Under the Commissioners, authorize various personnel actions as indicated on the summary sheet for employees within jurisdiction of Lorain County Commissioners.
Mr. Cordez?
Thank you, Commissioner Kalo. I do have a few potential hires to talk to you about at the county home. Ongoing labor discussions with United Steelworkers of America. And I think we have a matter of pending litigation, or is it litigation?
This one?
Yes, that's litigation.
That
right?
would be him.
Okay. All three of those subjects are allowable for executive session under the Sunshine Law, so I request at the conclusion of our regular board meeting today, we go into executive session to have those talks. Thank you.
Approve and waive the reading of the County Commissioners meeting minutes of July 20th, 2011.
So moved.
Second?
Discussion. Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Williams?
Aye.
Authorize payment to the following entities based upon the judgment from the Board of Tax Appeals relating to local government fund distribution. City of Elyria, $79,768. City of Ridgeville, $25,790. City of Avon Lake, $21,218. And Amherst Township, $3,813.
So moved.
Second?
Mr. Ennis, can you give us a wrap-up on the Board of Tax of Appeals issue?
This has been going on for how many years now? Like,
Welcome to
10?
you guys.
yeah, 8, 10 years?
Well, the last thing that happened was they dismissed the action with regards to negating the formula. There was the one $250,000 share that the county had agreed to advance that they did declare was improper. The appellants appealed that last decision, and the court ruled that out. So that case is finished, but there's a requirement of $250,000. Well, it's not going to be $250,000. It's only to the four parties. So there's roughly $133,000.
Correct.
We could do it in various measures, take it from our local government, but after talking with our council, it's our recommendation that the best thing to do is directly pay that out and get the whole thing over with. Now, there are still pending appeals for some future years, but we've just filed a motion saying we think the past ruling takes care of the whole thing for forever.
So hopefully we'll be done with this issue?
We're hoping.
All right, thank you, Mr. Ennis.
So
This
we're-
will
but
at
we're
least,
not.
this will at least take care of those past 3 years. Because the only thing we lost on was the 1-year advance payment. We won on the issue that continues ongoing year after year after year after year. So we think that takes care of all the appeals that have been filed.
We couldn't get this as over and done with and without an appeal? I mean, this should be a final.
Yeah, the
that's
appeal's
it.
already been made and done. But see, there's been cases filed each year since 2003. This took care of, I think, 3 years, okay, 3 or 4 years. But since the
Are there going to be
issue
future
of,
payments?
I'm sorry?
Are there going to be future payments needing to be made by the county to these entities?
no,
No, okay, that's what I was
if the,
concerned about.
you know, if the rule that has been declared is not changed, but they have declared in these 3 cases that the formula is valid. So that should be what we call res judicata for all the future cases. So, and this $250,000 was just a one-time thing.
Mhm.
So that won't be applicable to any of the future cases, so.
So hopefully it should just expire in time with no more monetary settlement?
Right.
Okay, that's our hope.
And this money, rainy day fund, where are we gonna get these additional
We took it out of our professional services.
professional
account.
services? Okay.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Williams?
Aye.
Approve the issuance of revenue bonds by the Industrial Development Authority of the County of Pima for the purpose of financing and refinancing the cost of acquisition, construction, improvement, and/or equipping of certain community school education facilities and certain other matters relating thereto. This is for Horizon Science Academy at 760 Tyler Boulevard, Lorain. The TEFRA hearing was held by the Port Authority on July 29, 2001, and recommends.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
Mr. Cordez, this was just an update because of timing, because of all the different states they were going through and counties.
Right, we're just a piece of the mosaic of the financing there. This is one of the only of 2 organizations that can issue this type of economic development bonds outside of their home state. So they're doing this in, I think it's in 4 or 5 states.
Right. And it's going to be about a $6 million investment here in Lorain County?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
This isn't our Port Authority, this is the Pima counties?
The TEFRA hearing was conducted by our Port Authority.
Correct.
We still have to do a TEFRA here, and then we still have to agree on the financing because they're not our conduit bonds, but we have to agree to allow those conduit bonds to be issued here in Lorain County for Lorain County work.
I don't really recall discussions about this
We did it last year.
It's been a
last year.
Mhm. They didn't move for reasons I don't really understand. They didn't move forward with any of their projects last year, so they had to go back, and since a year had elapsed, they had to
expired.
They had to redo all the TEFRAs again.
Okay.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Williams?
Aye.
Under Community Development, authorize agreement with Lorain Metropolitan Housing Authority for tenant-based rental assistance using fiscal year 10 CHIP grant funds in the amount not to exceed $11,100 to provide rental assistance to minimum 6 low moderate income households countywide and $1,100 for administrative costs. This excludes City of Lorain, Elyria, Overland, North Ridgeville, and Sheffield Lake. The county was awarded $563,000 in fiscal year 10 CHIP grant.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Williams?
Aye.
Advertise bids for Sheffield Township street improvements projects on 8N Texas Avenue. Notice to be in the Chronicle on August 5th and 12th and open at 2 p.m. on August 19th.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Williams?
Aye.
Approve and enter an MOU with the City of Lorain and Elyria, and the County Health Districts to form a consortium to administer the U.S. Department of HUD lead-based paint hazard control grant awarded to the City of Lorain as lead agent in the amount of $2.1 million over 3 years. This grant is intended to reduce exposure to toxic lead in home, especially where there are children under age 6, and authorize county administrator to execute all necessary documents.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Williams?
Aye.
Advertise notice to public of a finding of no significant impact to the environment, combined notice and notice of intent to request release of funds for fiscal year 11 CDBG Economic Development Program. Notice to be in the Journal on August 5th, 2011.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Williams?
Aye.
Submitted application to the State of Ohio for participation in the Small City CDBG Economic Development Program to support Dopstead Company business expansion with a $500,000 CDBG ED machinery and equipment loan. This is to support a larger business expansion of approximately $2.6 million in scope that will be processed through the revolving loan fund. Company has committed to creation of 20 new full-time jobs. 51% of jobs will be offered to low moderate income individuals or households, and they will create over a 3-year project cycle activity.
Mr. Romancic, like to give us an update, or Mr. Metzger, whoever was in charge of this one?
Morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
Morning, Ted.
What can I answer for you first?
All right, well, tell us where Dopstead Company's at.
Sure,
Give us a little
Dopsted's
background
out
and
in-
what they do, and
Sure. Oh, they're just up in the Lear Industrial Park, and they manufacture equipment that crushes and shreds stone and wood and large, bulk items. We've been working with them for a couple of months to set this up while they identified a new property, which is essentially at the end of that industrial park, and they're going to be relocating probably 1,000 feet into where they're going to be doing this expansion.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Good job.
The good thing is that we get to ask the state for additional CDBG resources for our revolving loan.
Sure, and this will pass through our account and it'll remain with us as program income. We can apply it to like projects in the future as well.
We just don't have the capacity right now to handle this alone with the current resources there. And on top of that, the repayment of this loan, if the state does it the way I think we're going to request, this money will go back into our revolving loan fund as it's repaid, so that'll expand our pool of resources in our total CDBG fund.
It sure will.
So it's kind of nice to be able to ask the state for that. Plus, it also exceeds the limit that we have imposed upon individual loans. I think we're currently at $150,000 with the funds we have, right?
We're just above that with one we just released for Butterer. So I think that's about it on this. This is just the application phase of it. So.
Well, it looks good. I'm assuming you wouldn't be this far along in the process, and the state wouldn't be working with us. So.
Oh no, we really cleared the underwriting on it so far, and we're confident it'll move forward.
Beautiful, thank you. Also move.
Second.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Williams?
Aye.
Under EMA Homeland Security, amend Resolution 11-226, adopted April 13, 2011, awarding contract to Vastu Communications, Inc., Avon, in the amount of $76,840.10 for installation of antennas, cabling, and radios. The amendment is to reflect the 30-day extension from August 3rd to September 8, 2011.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Williams?
Aye.
Under Solid Waste, approve request of 4 refurbished computers to Greater St. Matthew AME Church, Lorain, to be used by school children who have no other access to a computer at home.
Mr. Bailey.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning
This
again.
this is to set up a computer lab at the Greater St. Matthew's Church for children who do not have access to computers or the internet, and that's what these 4 computers will be used for.
Wonderful, thank you. Also move.
Second.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Williams?
Aye.
Under Workforce, approve and enter an MOU with Workforce Institute to assist in hiring and employment of a business service coordinator whose primary function is to outreach to area businesses on issues of workforce development for year 2011-2012. Annual salary not to exceed $62,000, and WDA will compensate Workforce Institute at a rate of 5% of the overall expenses related to the employment.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
Do you want to expand upon this, Mr. Cordes?
Well, certainly. This is a contractual relationship with federal dollars through the Workforce Development Agency. Not to mislead people, that $62,000 is an all-in benefits, everything.
That's Insurance. or
Right,
health insurance.
whatever the package is. So I probably should have saw that and changed the word from salary to compensation, which includes all those items. The last coordinator didn't have the staying power.
Sure.
So they've decided to revisit that issue. They did not recontract, and they're out now looking for someone else to fill that role. So hopefully they'll get that done so we can utilize this resource.
And this is paid through workforce money, not general fund money?
Correct.
Good, thank you.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Williams?
Aye.
Under Children's Services, authorize various deletions in personnel from Lorain County Children's Services Department who utilize the agency's Visa card for the year 2011.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Williams?
Aye.
Under the engineer, accept on behalf of Columbia Township the improvements of Hidden Oak subdivision. Plat is recorded in Lorain County Records of Plats, Volume 79, pages 21 through 22, for Hidden Oaks Drive T132, commencing at Station Road, County Road 61, and extending west 1,945.75 feet, or .369 miles in length to cul-de-sac. Richard Barron was the developer.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
Any comments from Columbia Township? I see we have a trustee joined us today. Good morning.
No Mr. Carney, we're all good? Okay, thank you.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Williams?
Aye.
Mr. Cortez, County Administrator?
I don't have any additional comments this morning. Thank you.
Mr. Ennis, Assistant County Prosecutor.
Commissioners, I just have one matter of imminent litigation that I would like to discuss in executive session.
Commissioners report.
Well, as most of you know, we went to Glide last week for a tour and had our second 2 commissioners meetings last week. So that was very nice, very educational. They're doing a wonderful job over at Lorain County Community College. Also this week, I had my monthly Goodwill meeting, and I just want to say, because of the people that donate their goods to Goodwill, they've saved over 1 million pounds of textiles, which is clothing and bedding, things like that, from going into our Lorain County landfill. They also recycle all the plastics that are donated, hangers and whatever, that things that are able to be repurposed. And they are recycling about 2,000 pounds of plastics per month. They also recycle cardboard, so if you have cardboard, you want to drop that off, make sure it's inside so it doesn't get wet. They're very good stewards with our environment. Their drop boxes are checked every day, so you won't see things, clothing or anything else laying outside of those boxes, because they're picked up every day. Like on my way in this morning, it was pouring down rain, and I saw another box from another entity with just things strewn all about and getting soaking wet. But I am honored to be a member of the board, and I'm proud of all the things that they do in our community who are less fortunate, disabled, and have problems with addictions or have been in trouble with the law. And they do a lot of job training and help with employment opportunities for those people. They also are doing our buses, as everyone knows, picking up where Lorain County Transit has kind of fallen by the wayside to some extent because of budget cuts. So they are helping us out tremendously with that. And I got a call from them this week, and they said that one of the engines had blown in their bus. So I called Mr. Cortez and said, well, we need another bus for Goodwill, and seems like we have one that is on its last legs as well that we're going to donate. Hopefully that one will last a bit longer than the one we had given them before. So I just want to commend them for all the good work that they do in our community, and like I said, I'm proud to be on their board. And that's end of my report.
Did you want to, I'm sorry, did you want to do something with that bus?
Absolutely. Yeah, I see it doesn't have air conditioning, which they have somebody that's doing some work on their buses now pro bono, so maybe it's something that could be fixed. And yeah, do we need a resolution by the board?
As much as I would give the bus away on your word, we do need a resolution.
Do
so.
you guys want to take a look at this?
Make the motion.
Okay.
It's already been depleted under the FTA requirements. So
This is one of those Greenfield or Greenbrier buses that we got for
Greenfield.
$1,000.
I'm not sure which category it's in. I know that we retired some vehicles and put on some of the new ones, and so this one's waiting to be either pressed into a different service or auctioned off. You can just pass a resolution authorizing the transfer for their program, for transportation programming over at Goodwill, if it's the pleasure of the board.
Before you make your motion, what about the old bus? Would we get that back?
No, they asked if they could keep that one for parts, because they just put new tires, like all kinds of new things on that bus, so to be able to use that for when things break down on this bus. It's not worth anything. It's like $14,000 to repair the engine.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, I appreciate that. I'm also working with Colleen Donnelly, and other people are helping through NOACA for Family Promise asked for a bus, the veterans need a bus, and hopefully maybe a brand new bus for Goodwill. So trying to get some new buses through ODOT and NOACA in Lorain County, because we need them desperately. So yeah, I would make a motion that we transfer this bus that is depleted from our rolling stock and donate that to Goodwill. Do you need a VIN number and all that kind of?
We can add that.
Okay.
I'll second.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Williams?
Aye. There you go. Thank you. Thank you.
Done?
Done.
Okay. Busy week. On Thursday, we had a conference call from the County Commissioners Association for the Metropolitan Affairs Committee, which I serve on, representing Lorain County, the 10 largest counties in the state. Very good dialogue for about an hour and a half that had a lot to do with the budget bill and where it's going forward, and discussions about how Jobs Ohio is going to be handled. And in some of my talks around the state, probably the first of the year, and talking with our team, Lorain County people, about agreed by the time I have the rules together, Don and Pat, and how Jobs Ohio are going to go. So we'll continue that discussion this month. Also, in discussions with State Representative Matt Lundy, who covers the Elyria area, he had been looking at issues with our county courthouse, which has been in the paper lately and brought up by the judges in regards to probation and criminal justice. Apparently, under the 126th Assembly 4 years ago, there was $300,000 from the Ohio Cultural Facilities Commission was given to Jay Tokar, who was doing some historical issues downtown. The project didn't work out, and there's still $300,000 that was appropriated. I spoke with Michelle Sippis from the Cultural Facilities based on what Matt Lundy had referred me to, and I spoke with the county administrator yesterday. I'll forward that information, probably go to Don Romancic, who has experience in that, but they had a whole set of rules on how we might be able to get that reappropriated, maybe start to work on the roof. It's only $300,000. Jim and I were talking, it's probably 15 or 20 million to fix the place, but if we can stop the water infiltration. So that information will get forwarded to you by the end of the week, Don.
That's
Again,
awesome.
thank you, Matt Lundy.
Too bad we used all that money from the fire damage for the law library. We probably could have done something over there with the law library. Did
I
you
don't
see
know
that?
how it was the fire was in this building.
I know, but to relocate the law library.
We still would have had to fix the burned
Yeah,
up building. We could
Yeah.
have just put plywood over it.
Could've done
No
something.
comment.
I'm
Don't
not
look
going
this
there.
way, Commissioner. No
I'm not going
comment.
that way.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying we could have retrofitted the courthouse for the law library
Library.
instead of this building for the law library. But, oh well.
One of the problems over there would be the storage of the books and the heavy weight on some of those floors, because you have high density cabinetry with regard to all those books they have. While a lot's gone electronic, there's still a vast amount of weight being distributed on the floor, and I'm not sure the courthouse could handle that in
No.
one small area. But it was something to think about.
Let's see what else we have on here. Also, fine job, the members of the AFL-CIO and the Sheriff's Department and all the helpers. I attended the Tomaszewski Spaghetti Dinner. What a turnout. There have been 600 people there by 3 o'clock. Fine job, Sheriff, your staff, and everybody who pitched in. I know you were a big part of that, and I saw you passing out water. So nice job. Also, attended last night, myself and Commissioner Williams, and the sheriff also and his staff, the Sheffield Township Night Out, did a nice job announcing they're going to supply funding for a deputy for 32 hours per month. Hope they can continue it or increase it. My business is located there, and they said they're going to pick it up based on more fines and tickets the Sheriff's Department's going to hand out. So I'm going to have to be careful on Detroit Road,
Yeah.
254. Also in discussions with 2 commissioners this week as we got to speak was we need to kick off some discussion points on how we're going to handle the sales tax campaign. I know Commissioner Kokoski and Commissioner Williams have been working on some issues along with myself. I got the opportunity to talk with the sheriff last night that hopefully we'll be able to move forward with a concise message to the public, and I hope we kick that off shortly. One more thing. Yeah, this is great. Reading it this morning, National Association of Counties, which is the group that the Lorain County Commissioners belong to through our County Commissioners Association of Ohio, in July 18th County News, which is our trade publication, National Association of Counties, their current president, Glenn Whiteley, has helped work with a group called iCivics.org. And I'll give this to Hal to put up. But it's a new online game to educate students about county government. It actually gives them the ability to log on, and they can name a county, and it gives them the ability to figure out what their tax base has to be, what services they want to provide to their constituents, and how to go about running county government. I actually was playing on it this morning, and it might help some of our residents throughout the county if they see this. It's a really great program, and will really work. They're urging all government teachers, political science teachers to get their students in this. And now, if you want to be president, it gives you a program on how to be president, how to run a city. So, I mean, it's really nice, and it's available through www.icivics.org. It's a great piece, and pardon me?
What is it again?
www.icivics.org. Well, it's a great educational tool that I think even the adults who don't quite understand what county government's required to do would give them some insight into it. So I'll make sure Hal puts this up, and I hope we can distribute it to the new teachers reception the county chamber is holding later in the month also for those teachers. That's the end of my report.
That's cool. I think I might play with that later.
It is. It's very good.
Okay, as Mr. Kalo said, I attended the Sheffield Township Community Night Out. Sheriff, I see you back there. I was wondering if you could come up and just talk about the program with the 32 hours with the road patrol going on.
Good morning.
Thanks, Phil.
Yeah, they had their national night out on crime last night in Sheffield Township. And obviously, the Commissioner Williams and Commissioner Kalo were there. And, you know, we have been trying to partner with all the townships, and Captain Drozdowski's back here. He's worked very hard on, we're trying to get a police districting going with all 18 townships. There's still a lot of work on this, and there's a lot of issues that we have to overcome, but we are going down that road. Obviously, this doesn't absolve the commissioners of any responsibility of any police protection in townships, but I think if we're ever going to get any additional people and maintain what we have, that we're going to have to work in partnership with them on this. But yeah, Sheffield Township is doing 8 hours a week, probably 2 4-hour shifts, and then we'll work with them, obviously changing shifts of, you know, when they're going to have input where they want the people at and what hours, and obviously we're going to look at the stats and the crime issues that are going on. And, you know, we're not going to be out there looking to write 1,000 tickets to everybody to try to generate funding that way. That's not what it's about. We're going to look at the, obviously, the areas that we think, you know, the border with the cities, you know, Lorain and Elyria, where you have most of the problems there, where most of the people are at, because they get complaints of people running stop signs at 50 mile an hour, and, you know, we have burglaries and thefts in certain areas, so we're going to concentrate on that. So I think it's a start, and I think they'll see it's a viable program, and I think they'll continue to keep it going. And obviously, their funding's being cut through the state, through local government funding too, so they got their concerns that way too. So I think it's a good partnership for all of us.
Yeah, you got a great group of trustees out there and a fiscal officer doing a great job in Sheffield Township. They went through last year, they opened up a new fire department as well. Chad Parson invited us out there. Want to thank him for it. And seemed like the families had a great time. I've seen a lot of little kids coming up, shaking your hand and that. So definitely a fun event. It's for the entire county. If you can make it next year, please try to attend. Also with the townships, there's other communities, other townships that are working with you to hire road patrol, correct?
Yeah, as you know, we have Eaton, we have New Russia, we have Columbia that's been in it for the longest. And Captain Droz, like I say, he's sitting in the back now, and he's actually got some meetings set up with the other townships to work on a couple things. And Columbia's actually trying to put a levy on possibly for a deputy or two. So
I think we share the same feelings. Definitely the trustees in the township government, one of the most effective forms of government around here. So thank you, Phil. Appreciate it. And the report.
Next week, 9:30, this is regular board meeting. 10 o'clock, Sheriff will present his budget. August 17th, 9:30, board meeting. 10 o'clock, Treasurer's budget. 11 o'clock, Auditor's budget. 12 o'clock, Board of Elections. 1 o'clock, Recorders. And then August 31st, 9:30, board meeting. 10 o'clock, all departments combined discussion on the budgets. We also received a petition of Matt for proposed annexation of portion of Russell Street, Sheffield Township. The letter was sent to the engineer for review and all utility companies for easements. Once this is completed and sent back, a viewing and hearing will be scheduled. Board correspondence,
Move the reading be waived.
Second.
discussion. Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Mr. Williams.
Aye.
Any public comment?
Or
No
Public
wishing to-
comment? Nobody? I see a lot of new faces.
Well, then I'd like us to move into
prosecutor.
the prosecutor's budget. Mr. Will, would you just like to sit up at the table,
Yeah,
or?
we're going down there.
We're going down there?
Yeah.
Great. Mr. Will, wherever you'd like to start.
Okay, we've taken a little bit different approach than what I understand you've had the last couple of weeks as far as presentations made to you. I'd like to first go through what we've done in response to budget cuts that started in 2009, how that has impacted our office, what makes up our office and where our actual funding goes to and what they do. because that to me gives you a better idea of what cuts are going to impact our office, depending on the level of those cuts, especially in light of the sales tax being on the ballot, and if in fact that does not pass, that the costs to our office are going to be severe. As I've told you many times, we are in uncharted territory here. Our biggest cost is our personnel, and we have already lost 7 people since we started through this process, and any additional cuts are going to impact our ability to deliver the services we are mandated to deliver, both statutorily and by Constitution. So if you would bear with me. In 2009, our office reduced our work hours by 12 hours every 2 weeks when the 20% budget cut was enacted in January. We did that for the first 5 months of the year and 8 hours for the last 7 months of the year. We were able to move some things around and access some money through stimulus money. But 3 attorneys voluntarily cut their salaries by approximately 37%, equaling $84,000.
That worked well.
Okay. I reimbursed the general fund $14,300 out of my salary, which is approximately 13%. And the remainder of the office staff had their 2009 pay reduced by 13%, and our work hours were reduced. In 2010, the office restored the staff to full work weeks. In order to accomplish that, from the reductions that we suffered in 2008 budget levels, we did the following actions. We had reduction in staff of 1 prosecutor, 1 secretary, 1 victim witness advocate. The costs saved there were respectively $68,000, $21,000, and $29,500. 3 attorneys voluntarily took pay reductions, which gave us $54,000 additional savings. The balance of the staff had their pay reduced in the 2008 levels, approximately 1.5%. I reimbursed the general fund for my salary an equal amount, approximately $1,500. And 1 attorney was paid with federal stimulus money, which we were able to access in conjunction with the Sheriff's Department in a joint program to address drug crimes and drug prosecutions. In 2011, we have reduced our staff by 1 attorney, 1 victim witness advocate, 1 secretary, and 1 investigator due to the recent 5% budget cuts affected by the commission. This means that since 2008, our staff has been reduced by 2 attorneys, 2 secretaries, 2 victim witness advocates, and 1 investigator. That's $161,500 in cuts. In addition to the $270,000 in cuts previously made, we have a total savings of approximately $431,500. Due to open file discovery, which was passed by the legislature and put into effect on July 1st of last year. For those of you that don't know what discovery is, it is the process of exchanging information between parties in a lawsuit. Specifically, this is criminal discovery, which required the prosecutor's office, as a representative of the state of Ohio, to make available to defense counsel all information that we possessed at that time. One of the biggest changes was police reports had to be duplicated and provided to defense counsel. That was not previously part of discovery. Previously, our discovery rules mirrored the federal rules, which did not require that. The legislature and the Ohio Supreme Court chose to change that, and that put an additional burden on our office, not only of the cost of copying and documenting the information that comes into us so we can accurately respond and file that with the opposing counsel, but also gave us additional cost in the machinery that was necessary to do that. Specifically, we had to undertake major purchases of an additional copying machine at $23,000, video editing equipment at $10,500, and a disc duplicator. For those of you who understand, we try to do as much in digital format of our exchange of information. However, not all departments can comply with our request on how they do that, but we make an ungodly number of duplications of CDs or digital video discs. And so we had to get a copier that could do that in a faster manner and do multiple copies. And it's also, you have to understand, the manpower that goes into doing that is an increased cost for us. All of that was sent to us from the state legislature and the Ohio Supreme Court with no additional funding, no assistance, and quite frankly, if you remember, Cuyahoga County was a lead agency in trying to deal with this through a computer program. They spent, I believe, $3.9 million to have Matrix Corporation developed them a computer program to do this all through digital format and interact with all of the different law enforcement agencies in Cuyahoga County. And from what I understand, that system works great. We don't have the 3.9 million, and even if it was at a lesser cost, Matrix is marketing that system. At first, they were going to sell it to us, and I believe our cost was 1.2 million.
1.2 million.
Then they decided to rent it out at a monthly or a yearly fee or monthly fee, and even that is cost prohibitive for us. So we have no way of responding to this but the old-fashioned way, which is analog copying and or having our people basically make copies of paper documents. We have one secretary, intern, or law clerk who does this on a regular basis because we have to document all of the information that comes into our office so we can accurately defend ourselves. If you have 20 years down the road, somebody complains they did not receive something. So that's a lot of additional cost, both in machinery and equipment, and also in our personnel. And again, nothing was given to us by the state to try to deal with that. We're not the only ones dealing with it. All 88 counties have that problem.
Dennis, real quick. Tim, your software that you're looking at, will that work with his system as well? Or-
We, in all the vendors we talked to, we have asked them to either develop that as a module or they have a representative that would be, because we were aware of that problem with the prosecutor's office.
Okay.
And the cost that they would, in order to implement a successful solution, very prohibitive. So yes, we were absolutely looking at that for both the prosecutor's office and some of the modules for the sheriff's office.
All right, and that would be coming out of the special funds.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, Dennis.
That's okay. In addition, our Children's Services Division, which has 4 attorneys and 2 secretaries, salaries and PERS are fully reimbursed with an approximate surplus of $30,000 from the Title IV E-money and Children's Services funding. So we actually make out in a positive manner budget-wise because of the funding and the subsidies we receive from Children's Services and 4E. The results of these actions is that our pay averages for our employees as follows. Prosecutors, we have 33. Average years of experience of those prosecutors is 17 years. Their average salary is $61,000. The average salary in 2009 for a private practicing attorney, according to the Ohio State Bar Association, was $113,000. Secretaries, of which we have 28, average approximately $27,900. Investigators, we have 6. They average $39,666. Victim witness advocates, we have 3. They average $32,333. Administrators, we have an IT director and 4 other individuals that serve as administrators. That's average of $49,325. The average for all of our employees to total, it comes out to $47,700. The criminal division, which is what most people think of when they think of the prosecutor's office, is responsible for prosecution of adults who commit serious crimes in Ohio. It is responsibility of the criminal division to prosecute all felony cases on behalf of the state of Ohio. This division works closely with all law enforcement agencies throughout Lorain County. Therefore, you can make a proper assumption that when the other law enforcement agencies get their budgets reduced, it impacts us, just as when ours gets reduced, it impacts them. So there's a multiplying effect there on how we have to deal with it. The assistant prosecuting attorneys assigned to the criminal division are present for all phases of the litigation from arraignment through sentencing. The attorneys assigned to the criminal division are also responsible for grand jury proceedings, forfeitures, extraditions, search warrants, and appeals. Criminal division attorneys interact with hundreds of witnesses, victims, law enforcement officials, and continually seek to protect the interests of the community and secure justice for the citizens of Lorain County. There was an agreement among the court's judges themselves that those will all be handled by the probate court, and so we have one prosecutor handles all of those. One of the assistant prosecutors is assigned to major drug-related criminal cases and is responsible for these in all 6 courtrooms. 2 assistant prosecutors are responsible for all homicide cases, complex criminal prosecutions, and supervision of the courtroom and assistant prosecutors. Additionally, these 2 prosecutors are responsible for covering in the absence of a courtroom prosecutor due to illness or vacation. Recently, throughout this year, we've been dealing with prosecutors being off for extended periods of time because of medical-related issues. Throughout most of this year, we have been short at least 1 prosecutor, and at times as many as 4 prosecutors have been off because of medical-related issues. And also, the workload on the courtroom prosecutors has increased due to the budgetary cutbacks suffered by various law enforcement agencies within the county. Law enforcement agencies have fewer man-hours and personnel dedicated to the investigation and preparation of cases. Therefore, in many instances, the courtroom prosecutor assigned the case must find alternative means, including their own additional effort, to address issues to prepare the case for trial. We have one assistant prosecutor who handles all forfeitures, extraditions, and any other special instances that have to do with any other jurisdictional issues or cases that are different in nature. We have 2 assistant prosecutors that are responsible for hundreds of appeals and search warrants issued. Assistance with appellate paperwork and legal research is provided through a free externship program provided by the law schools. We have several of those externs working with us this summer. The range in pay for 12 of these prosecutors in the criminal division is $49,000 to $69,000. The 2 others who are in charge of the criminal division and the grand jury are paid $85,000 and $90,000. And the division includes clerical staff whose pay range is $24,300 to $30,000. Additionally, we gave you some statistics that fed off of the numbers given to you by Mr. Luby concerning how we compare to 4 other counties of comparable size. And I believe that you have one that lists 2007, 2008, 2009, 2010, and a partial for 2011, where it lists the cases processed, terminations. You have that one?
That's an attachment. If you look in the attachments to the pros in the back, you'll see what Mr. Will is speaking about.
Okay. Okay. As you see, and I'm sure that you discussed last week, we have a higher number of cases handled both per individual docket and in total than other cases than other counties that are a similar size and nature. That has always been true. To give you an understanding of it, when I first started here, we had 2 judges, 2 common pleas judges. That is now expanded to 6. Those are expanded by virtue of the fact that the caseloads increase and have to be basically overseen and okayed by the Ohio Supreme Court. The most recent judgeship went online just a few years ago. Our dockets and our case numbers have always been above the average, dating back to when I started in 1988. So it's not something that's a recent manifestation, and it's something that we have seen for years and years and have been forced to deal with. You can see that some of the other counties, their numbers have fluctuated greatly as far as how they dealt with cases based upon changes in the economic climate. And we also listed in that document the number of pleas that plead to the indictment as charged, and also those that plead to a lesser included offense.
Lesser included, we're getting a question. What's LIO? Lesser included offense.
Okay, is that it? I also incorporated in your add-on something that I gave you back in 2007 when you asked for budget information. It says it's a 2-page document that says criminal division, criminal division, criminal division. And it specifically says, lists the total number of cases that were processed through the prosecutor's office from 2000 to 2006, and talks about the increases that took place. And the increase in that 7 years in the number of cases processed was 61%. And in the 2 years since I took office, which is 2005 and 2006, it increased 21%. The cases that were terminated, those brought to fruition or those brought to totally being taken off the books, they increased in the 7 years from 2000 to 2006, 40%. And in the 2 years that I was in office, 14%. Additionally, if you look at the next page, which is the increase in the trials, we talk about how there was an additional elected judgeship, how we dealt with that we had less prosecutors to dealing with 7 courtrooms than we did when we had 6 courtrooms because of the visiting courtroom. And more importantly, it says 2 of the 10 prosecutors are assigned to the 18 homicide cases currently pending, 6 of which are capital cases. Now, for those of you that were on the commission back then, if you remember, we came to you and asked for assistance, where we had a county-wide effort to reduce the violence and the gunplay that was taking place at that time, which gave us all of these homicides, which were all time-consuming and costly, but were very serious in nature for the problems we were dealing with throughout the county. So I can tell you that was 2007. You'll see from the numbers I got here, we have not improved much, okay? We're still dealing with a really high number of serious offense cases, specifically those involving murder, aggravated murder. In 2005, we had which was the year we had the big influx, and we asked for assistance from the commission, we had 7 aggravated murders and 16 murders, and 4 involuntary manslaughters. In 2006, we had 10 aggravated murders, 4 murders, and 1 involuntary manslaughter. 2007, we had 7 aggravated murders, 3 murders, and 5 aggravated vehicular homicides. 2008, we had 5 aggravated murders, 2 murders, and 5 aggravated vehicular homicides. 2009, we had 1 aggravated murder, 3 involuntary manslaughters, and 5 aggravated vehicular homicides. 2010, 1 aggravated murder, 9 murders, 1 involuntary manslaughter, 3 aggravated vehicular homicides. And in 2011, thus far, we have 1 aggravated murder, 5 murders, 2 aggravated vehicular homicides, and we have presently pending to come into the system 2 additional counts of murder, different individuals, and 2 vehicular homicides. So even though the law enforcement agencies have continued to try to stem some of this, we are in the situation that many old industrial cities with depleting forces and depleted housing stock are facing, which is an increase in violent crimes and specifically in homicides. So even though on a national average you hear how crime is going down, I think what we see is an increase in the higher level offenses, which require more time and resources, and we may see a reduction in some of the other things, but I'm not sure that that's not due to the fact that law enforcement agencies don't have the resources to investigate them, charge them, and bring them forward. That's my summary on the criminal division. If we have any questions about the criminal division, I'll answer them. If not, I'll go on to some of the other divisions.
Questions, board? No, go ahead, Dennis.
Okay, we have Domestic Relations Division, which operates in 3 distinctly different units: the Juvenile Prosecutions for Criminal Offenses, the Child Welfare Unit, and the 4D or Child Support Enforcement Unit. Juvenile Prosecutions, the office receives a variety of referrals from all Lorain County law enforcement agencies involving individuals under 18 years of age. Juvenile prosecutors focus on everything from unruly and delinquent behavior that can range from truancy to homicide, and includes the preparation of requests that certain juveniles be transferred to the Court of Common Pleas for prosecution as an adult. Additionally, this unit prosecutes adults who are charged with crimes such as child endangering, failure to supervise, failure to send a child to school, and contributing to the delinquency of a minor. Serious offenders require separation from the community in facilities such as the detention home or institutions of the Ohio Department of Youth Services. There are 3 assistant prosecutors assigned. Each is assigned to one of the 3 specific courts in the Domestic Relations Division. In each of these individual courts, the assigned prosecutor must cover cases heard by both the juvenile magistrate assigned to that court and also cover cases heard by the juvenile court judge overseeing that court. An additional assistant prosecutor and staff assistant review all reports. Those are intake individuals. All reports and prepare appropriate charges. The supervising attorney in the domestic division provides supervision and coverage of the dockets when necessary. Caseloads for the division yearly approximate the following: 1,500 juveniles charged, 600 referred to the detention home, 2,500 total cases reviewed, and 2,000 cases where there's adjudication of delinquent behavior. The 4 juvenile prosecutors are paid $36,000 to $68,000, and a staff assistant is paid $43,000. The 3 clerical staff are paid $27,200 to $28,000. Any questions on juvenile prosecutions? Okay. Child Welfare Division. Prosecutor's Office represents Lorain County Children's Services in protective custody cases that require the removal of children from homes due to neglect, abuse, and dependency. These children are provided a full range of services, including medical attention, foster care, and court protection. This unit provides advice and counsel to Lorain County Children's Services caseworkers and staff. There are 4 assistant prosecutors in this division. 3 are assigned to the 3 domestic relations magistrates and 3 domestic relations court judges. Again, the assigned prosecutor is responsible for covering both cases heard by the magistrate and by the judge overseeing the court. The 4th assistant prosecutor and supervising attorney assists with supervision, review of charges, and coverage of dockets when necessary. New filings yearly approximate 300. The 4 assistant prosecutors are paid $49,000, and the 2 clerical staff are paid $27,000 and $28,000. Any questions on that section? Okay, the 4D unit represents the State of Ohio Department of Jobs and Family Services in matters related to the establishment of paternity and the enforcement of child support. These duties include the preparation and prosecution of felony non-support offenses. This unit initiates civil collection and actions for past due child support, processes interstate agreements, and even international child support enforcement actions. Efforts are directed at causing non-paying parents to pay child support that is used to reimburse the Ohio Department of Jobs and Family Services for financial assistance provided to their children. 3 full-time and 2 attorneys on a part-time basis are assigned to the 3 magistrate dockets and 3 domestic relations judge dockets. The caseload for the division yearly approximates as follows: new filings for paternity 500, 450 paternities established, civil non-support, new filings 400, and cases closed 350, contempt actions for non-payment, new filings 2,750, cases closed 2,700, and criminal non-supports 210 charged individuals, 115 sentenced. The money collected by this division approximates $550,000 yearly, which is twice the amount of the subsidy provided by the general fund appropriation from the commission for this division. The range in pay for the 5 attorneys is $45,000 to $64,000, and the 9 clerical staff range pay is from $23,000 to $35,000. The supervising attorney is paid $74,000. Any questions on that one? No? Civil division. The civil division is comprised of a general civil unit and a tax unit. The general civil unit represents all Lorain County and township governmental agencies, all elected officials, several public libraries, and multi-jurisdictional school districts. In this role, assisting prosecuting attorneys provide day-to-day legal advice, prepare legal documents necessary for the agencies to perform their functions, negotiate agreements, advise boards and officials, and represent the agencies in various stages and types of litigation. The tax unit represents the Lorain County Auditor and Lorain County Treasurer in all matters relating to the collection of past due real estate taxes, past due personal property taxes, Board of Tax Appeal cases, and in any other situation where the protection of tax monies is required. These situations usually involve foreclosures and forced sale proceedings. Assistant prosecuting attorneys assigned to the civil division seek to protect the interest of their governmental agencies and the citizens whom they represent. The 5 assistant prosecutors in the division provide services to numerous county departments, townships, libraries, board, agencies, and a summary is as follows. I am not going to go through all of those because it covers approximately 2.5 pages. The 4 prosecutors in the division range in pay from $51,500 to $71,500. The supervising attorney is paid $90,000. The 3 clerical staff in the division are paid $26,000 to $34,800. The victim witness division, which assists the juvenile and adult criminal prosecution sections, assists the branch to Lorain County citizens who have found themselves involved in the criminal process, whether as a victim or a witness to a criminal activity. It provides the voice for those who might not otherwise be heard. There are many statutory requirements that we are required to meet and services we are required to render to victims, and this is the division that does that. The number of victims served by this type of victimization and our 3 advocates is approximately 1,606 victims were served in the adult criminal division. These involve everything from assisting survivors of homicide cases to every type of an offense that is listed in this document. In addition, the division provides translation services and transportation services for our victims to and from court. The juvenile division of victim witness assisted 1,349 victims, and again, these run the range from everything from homicide and survivors to the most minor of offenses because of the nature of the juvenile system. The 3 victim witness advocates are paid $30,784 to $36,000. Any questions on that one? Okay. Additionally, our office employs a chief of staff who's paid $80,000, a computer systems administrator who's paid $56,300, 3 administrative assistants whose paid ranges from $43,000 to $50,000, 5 investigators whose range in pay is $21,000 to $42,000, along with a chief investigator who's paid $57,500. The non-personnel budget, which includes the purchase of computer equipment, software, legal publications, resources, copy machines and related equipment, paper products, stationery equipment, Supreme Court fees, filing cabinets, etc., totals approximately $190,000, and an additional breakdown is included in this document. The effects of budget cuts have been significant to our office. Further cuts in professional staff will jeopardize our ability to comply with the constitutional and statutory responsibilities. Moreover, cuts have contributed to an exodus of experienced attorneys. During the past 3 years, 5 experienced attorneys have resigned primarily because of our inability to provide them with a fair and representative pay. Our average pay provided to attorneys is approximately $50,000 less than that paid to attorneys in private practice. Our starting pay to attorneys who have recently graduated from law school is approximately $45,000 per year. These are people who have sacrificed for 7 to 8 years after high school to obtain the skills necessary, and in some cases have over $100,000 in student loans to pay off. Many of our individuals have more than $100,000 in loans. Moreover, during these years, they have lost potential earnings of at least $175,000. For a prosecutor's office to be effective, we will need to have the ability to pay our attorneys a competitive salary commensurate with their education and experience, so that they will have the incentive to remain, rather than leave after they have gained the experience and years of experience that are necessary to do our job. They then leave our office. I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to deal with this. We have attached additional documentation of our general fund expenses, and I will go through those with you as you so desire. But the biggest reason I wanted to go through this is to be able to make it clear to you that we do not have an overabundance of people that are unneeded. All of our people are necessary to perform our functions. We have reduced 7 individuals from our staff, and yesterday one of our victim witness individuals came in and told me she'd be leaving. She has a better opportunity to work for one of the local courts. And so we continue to lose both talent and personnel to do our job. Our individuals are not overpaid. Comparatively, we are at the very least at the minimum of the scale compared to other counties, and many times well below what they do in private practice. Our biggest concern is exactly what I have alluded to in our letter, that we're in a situation similar to what police departments were several years ago. The police departments would train individuals, and then other departments would recruit them away. So you spent the time, the money, and the years of experience to develop individuals, and they would leave for a better paying job. I realize that the economy is at this time not rebounded, completely, but we're still already seeing that. And if we're seeing it in the worst of times, as times improve, I consider that that's going to exacerbate itself. So I don't want us to waste time, money, and effort to train these individuals that we hope will make this a career, and then in fact we end up losing them. So the main purpose in giving you all this information is that everything that cuts from our budget is going to be personnel-wise. We're going to lose more people. As I told you when I spoke at the podium a couple months ago, we're in uncharted territory. I've never seen this. I've been in law enforcement for over 30 years. Sheriff's been in law enforcement for his whole career. And the problem is we're going to suffer cuts that I'm not sure you recover from in a very short period of time if they have to be made. This is kind of like turning an aircraft carrier. Once you start making these primary changes, it's going to affect us and our ability to protect the citizens of Lorain County, to perform all of our statutory functions. One of the areas that's going to be impacted if we lose personnel is the civil division, because the 3 main areas where general fund money goes is to the adult criminal division, the juvenile criminal division, and the civil division. All of our other divisions are heavily subsidized, if not completely subsidized, by other means of funding. And the civil division has a ton of work to do, as you can see from all these listed agencies they're responsible for. And with the requirements that we meet certain statutory timelines on criminal prosecutions, the only other place we have to go that gives us any type of breathing room, so to speak, is civil. And I can tell you that when Jerry isn't available, people aren't happy. And I think that that's one of the things that I want to convey to the commission. We've included all of our funding sources that basically is just a reflection of what our line items would be in our documentation that we provided to you. We have very little things that are not personnel items, very little room to maneuver on that. And basically, as I've told you before, I believe the tax increases are needed for the revenue sources. It's not being wasted, it's being put to the proper purposes that we are required to statutorily and mandated to do. And I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Board? Yeah, the first thing comes up, I know I get this question a lot. You talk about the salary.
Pull that closer to me.
Sorry, the salaries of the attorneys, you know, it comes into play as far as it's lower than the private sector. But what's their salaries with benefits? How's that compared to the private sector?
Well, it's still not at the same level as what the Ohio State Bar.
Well, I'm sorry.
You want me to get the handheld mic?
Just pull that one mic closer to you to tennis.
Okay, can you hear me now? Yeah, that's better. Okay. Comparatively with benefits, okay, we still don't match up with private sector attorneys. We are still below what they pay them. And the other thing is when you go to private sector law, there's other benefits that they're going to get. One is a reduced workload. Some of the people that left my office have gone into private criminal practice, and I spoke to one of them before they left, and they said, look, the workload that we have, okay, in the criminal division of the prosecutor's office, and what I'll have as a private individual where I can control my own schedule, okay, is one of the biggest things. I can make an equal amount of money, if not more, than what I'm making now, plus I can control my schedule and have more time for my family. So as far as benefits, no, I do not believe they will match up dollar for dollar with what private sector attorneys have. And additionally, they control their own workload, and they control when they want to take vacation, and they control how many cases they're going to handle. So I can just tell you from without doing in-depth research, it still does not match up.
Can I add to that? To put it in context, having been in private practice for 20 years myself, the way, Mr. Williams, I like to run the comparison is if you take $61,000 as the average salary for a prosecutor, then add 14% PERS pickup. So at that point, maybe you add another close to 9,000. That's 70 grand. Add the health insurance in and say it's 14 to 15,000. That's 85,000. If you take the average pay based on the study done by the Ohio Bar Association at 113,000, you add in for the employer about, say, a 6% pickup, 6.5 for employment compensation. So you add another about 8 grand in. That's 121. And let's assume that that private sector law firm is not picking up the health insurance. Subtract 15 from that, that's 106 versus 85 total, so still a $21,000 difference. Okay. I mean, I can tell you, being in private practice for 20 years, there's absolutely no comparison between what a prosecutor who has 17 years of experience is making as opposed to the private sector attorney. I can also tell you that our attorneys are there. When this board suggested going beyond an 8-hour workday, I can tell you that, as many of my prosecutors said to me, you mean we only have to work 8 hours a day? Does that mean I don't have to take files home at night? Does that mean I don't have to take files home on the weekend? Does that mean I don't have to come to the Justice Center on the weekend? Ask Jonette to check the hand fob that's used. So from our perspective, I think it's clear to say, and I would feel very comfortable in saying to any of my private sector colleagues, that our prosecutors are not paid anything close to a comparable skilled attorney in the private sector with 17 years of experience. I was not only in private practice for 20 years, but as 12 of those years, I was the managing partner. I ran the office. There's a workers' comp, 3.3% or whatever that number is, that's going to be the same on top of the attorney's salary in the private sector. The unemployment that you have to pay in is going to vary depending upon law firm to law firm. So those numbers are what they are. And there is literally no comparison.
Did you figure in sick vacation and the time off for paid time off?
The time off, you'd be looking at that from an hourly rate perspective. Lawyers in the private sector, depends on the firm. If you're in a big firm, what they will essentially tell you is you need to accumulate X number of billable hours per year. How you do that doesn't make a difference to us. So it becomes a billable hours issue. And so you may see attorneys in the private sector taking numerous weeks off, but they may elect to work 6 o'clock to 5 o'clock and 6 o'clock a.m. to 5 o'clock p.m., work on Saturday mornings, work during the week. And it really becomes, like I said, a billable hours issue more so than anything else. But to put that in perspective, if you're told that you need to bill 1,800 to 2,000 hours a year, for instance, and the private sector lawyer is billing $150 to $200 an hour, then you can begin to do the math. Now, of course, you don't collect all that, but if you're billing out $300,000 a year to $350,000 a year, and you're collecting 80% of it, and then you have an overhead of about 25 to 30% max, you can come up with the numbers. And I would say to you that our prosecutors are working well more than a 40-hour week. And even if they take 5 weeks off a year, for instance, I'm just throwing that number at you, sick and vacation, I will guarantee you that there's no harder group of people working in county government than that group, because they don't have a choice. Billable hours are not compelling, but timelines, court dockets, requirements like that are what's compelling.
I don't think I've ever heard anybody say that your staff is overpaid by any means. I've never, ever heard that, ever. So I don't think that's a...
Take this gentleman sitting behind you,
Oh, I
Jerry
know.
Ennis.
What would we
How many
do
evening
without-
meetings is he at?
In the evenings, during the day,
Days,
everywhere. yeah,
weekends?
yeah.
Absolutely.
Right.
I guess I can sum this up and answer your question. I tried to recruit 2 attorneys to come to our office who are in private solo
And
practice.
they said, no way.
One of them told me, look, even if I was willing to take the cut in pay, okay, the amount of hours that your staff works, and they know because they do battle from the other side, they're not willing to do that. Their private lives and their family lives and that are more important to them. So I can tell you that going out and talking to people one-on-one and trying to recruit them, they don't see that it matches up. So-
And we've had that problem through all of government, keeping
Right.
people the courts are having the same problem. Our community development's almost like a training ground for good people, because after a couple of years, they are just leaving us and getting well-paying jobs in the private sector or other government agencies. So it's not something that isn't rampant here in Lorain County the last 4 or 5 years.
No, when I brought up that issue, I was talking about the amount that the county pays in benefits for sick and vacation, and holiday pay and things like that. When you're comparing apples to apples, you need to include that in the benefit package as well as health insurance.
That's why I wanted to run that number for you. If you take 61, you take 14% and add the health insurance on top of it, really all that matters is that's a gross number.
Right.
And from the private sector, if you're taking 113, you've got to add in from the employer's share is not a PERS 14%, but there is a 1/2 of the, about 15% in toward Social Security, about 7% on top of that. And then even if that private sector isn't paying that health insurance benefit, then deduct that amount out.
Right.
And you still have a $20,000 to $25,000 spread minimum.
Except for the, like custodians and things like that, majority of county workers, in my opinion, are underpaid.
Oh, no doubt.
They're paid on a lesser scale than in the private sector.
Right.
Sure. Okay.
Okay. Just looking at the 2011 budget amount versus your request for 2012, looks like you're adding an additional 700,692, with 632,000 of that being for salary increases.
Yeah, you're.
No, that is the adjustment that we've been making in our line items, getting the personnel costs in line instead of having to do all the transfers. Had a discussion a couple of times, correct, Dennis?
Are you increasing your budget request for 2012?
I know.
We haven't made
Because
one.
We haven't
it is
made
kind
one.
of confusing.
On your tax budget probably is what,
Budget request that was submitted in May
Okay,
Yes.
is higher than the
Yep.
2011 budget. I think that's what Commissioner.
Yeah, what the tax budget reflected was frankly adding 3% to every line item in a very arbitrary manner.
That's
Because-
the normal wish list
Right.
that we've been doing for every year since I've been
Right.
here, which really has no significance and doesn't add
Right,
to anything.
and we were kind of hoping that we weren't gonna do that wish list anymore and get real about the budget requests.
What we tried to do is, if you look at the attachments, is break out what our current expenditures are by category. By salary and by non-salary line items. Was the budget that was given to us in 2011. And how that breaks out by line item, the percentage of general fund expenditure versus other expenditures. That's what that represents. So,
well, could you then go back and maybe get some revised tighter budget like you've asked the other departments, George?
This
Will
is
can
my,
answer
this
that.
is my tighter budget.
Oh, go with this one, okay, not your tax budget.
Right.
Okay, all right, then.
This is what we were given for 2011. This is where we're spending it. This will keep me exactly where I'm at right now.
You're asking for the same as last year.
Correct. And that's why I wanted to make sure you understood what we've done thus far to reduce personnel, to reduce cost, and to deal with the cuts that have been made thus far. We don't have any way of expanding our revenue.
Right.
You know, and so we have to live within whatever we get.
Look at these two things right here. Just these two?
No, it should be, should have the general fund expenditure. line,
Right.
Okay, and you should have examples of computer-related expenses.
Oh,
And then you should have prosecutor's office personnel synopsis, where it breaks down general fund and justice accounts as opposed to all the other funding accounts. And then final summation of the FOJ. You don't have all of those?
what was the last one?
These two are.
Yep, I have those. So we have these 4 pages.
You should have 2, 4, 6 pages.
probably easier to worry.
These two?
So in all
These
retrospect,
two.
Dennis, your request is identical to the
These two?
2011 budget.
Correct, and that's after the 5%
Oh, you have them
additional
all in
cut.
order?
Cuts that were
These
given
were all-
in April and May.
Correct.
In between pages, so, okay.
We're discussing, and I brought it up with all the other departments.
Okay.
What happens if there are additional cuts? I mean, what mandated services, well, I mean, we're down to the bone now, we've talked about this plenty of times. What mandated services and what are the consequences of additional cuts, because yours are personnel.
Right. Look, as I explained, our 3 general fund areas that are funded are civil, adult criminal, juvenile criminal. All right? Juvenile criminal and adult criminal, I have to have a certain number of people to be able to do at a bare bones level what we're required to do to prosecute offenses. The only other place I have to make cuts is in the civil division. You see how many entities we represent, and you see, how many different times we have people outside the office representing those entities. That's gonna be one of the areas that gets hit, I can tell you that right now. We're gonna take hits in the criminal division. And I mean, collectively, we're gonna have to start telling people, we can't prosecute certain types of offenses. How you do that, I don't know. I
Like
mean,
what type of offenses would that be?
well, you're gonna have to basically prioritize things. I can tell you this, the general public, when I go out there and speak to them, spoke to Lake Erie Landlords Association, they wanna know, why are we not doing more to the people stripping out their houses and their buildings and that? And what I tried to explain to them is, number one, that is not a priority for the Department of Rehabilitation and Correction. They do not want those people sent to prison. They want to push more of that down to the sheriff's level and the county jail level. And there's going to be less emphasis on dealing with those types of property crimes than there was previously. Well, I can tell you, they don't hear that and say, gee, that's a good idea, or we agree with that. they want to know who's protecting their interest.
Right.
But that's exactly what's taking place at a state level with the changes in the sentencing code, and what's taking place in the funding level with both us and law enforcement, and what's going to continue to take place with the Department of Rehabilitation and Correction. I mean, I think you're going to see less and less ability to deal with these problems. And as I tell them, certain people, okay, they say, well, how are you going to stop these people from stealing? There's only one way I can absolutely guarantee that, and that's if they're locked up. Well, you can't lock everybody up because it's too expensive. So the bottom line is people are going to basically find out when you don't have these sources of funding that it's going to impact them adversely. So what do we have to do? I don't have an answer as to exactly how you're going to prioritize what you do, but I can tell you that everybody in the state is going through this. We've collectively talked at the Prosecutors Association, and, you know, with the level of crime we're dealing with, okay, it's going to be something that the public is going to feel when we don't have the people to do our job.
Has the Ohio Prosecutors Association come up with any numbers yet based on House Bill, 86 for the 4 and 5s coming back? I know we have an impact on our jails. How about on the increased caseload of those people back in the community?
Do I have any numbers that have been run by the Prosecutors Association? No. Can I tell you what my instinct is from having been doing this for a very long time, both as a law enforcement?
I'll take your instinct.
It's nothing good, okay? Look, programs to deal with people that have committed criminal acts are great programs if they work and they're more cost effective. Now, as the sheriff and I often talk, a certain number of people are not going to respond to those types of programs. And you have to do something with them when it gets to that point. And the ultimate point is that you would have to incarcerate them. When you don't have that hanging over their head, they are not going to comply. A perfect example is when Elyria eliminated their jail years ago, the Elyria Municipal Court system backed up tremendously because nobody went to court. Because if you went to court and the judge ordered you to jail, there was nowhere to lock you up. So if you just didn't show up, they'd issue a bench warrant. When they picked you up, you went in, the judge yelled at you, they said, "You're going to jail." There was no place to lock you up, they went back out on the street. We eventually ended up, before they built the city jail, we ended up transporting prisoners to the Seneca County Jail, paying the cost of housing them and transporting them to be able to address those people that would not respond to any of the other programs they were trying to employ to deal with the issues. So I realize it's costly to incarcerate. I realize that everybody would like to have something that's more efficient. So would I. I realize we cannot prosecute and arrest our way out of these. But ultimately, there's always a price to pay when you can't stop people who are going to continually victimize society. And I know the sheriff and I talk about this on a regular basis. Those are great ideas, but ultimately you've always got to have that bottom line sword hanging over somebody's head to make them comply. So what do I think? I think we're going to see a very adverse impact when this comes about.
Some of the concerns out in the community is how that's going to actually affect us going forward. The sheriff has concerns. I mean, that's why discussions come up about moving people to other jail facilities or such within the county. So, Shirley, you look like you have a question.
I don't have a question, I have a comment. Does Josh go up there?
Yeah, probably, I would guess. Did you have something to say, Tom?
Well, no, I was just gonna ask him, on the felonies, 4 and 5, I know they're gonna come back to local. How's that gonna change your, going after felonies, say, 2 and 3s? Because a lot of times you would plead with them, get them down to a 4 or 5, and now those people are gonna be coming back to, the counties. Is that gonna, I guess what I'm asking is, are you gonna still have the ability to prosecute more, on the higher felonies, or are you gonna reduce that?
It's going to have an impact. I do not see that it's going to impact our ability to prosecute the more serious offenses, okay? And we only reduce things down when there's a warranted reason, okay?
Okay.
A perfect example is I had an attorney from that practices in other counties recently came here and was talking to me about a case, and he says, you know, that we charge with what we have the evidence to prove, and that's why we say you either plead to the indictment, or if there's some other reason, then we negotiate, but otherwise, we charge with what's appropriate. He says in other counties you don't have that. They might charge with 3 or 4 different things, and they get rid of 3 of them, and you end up at the same spot you should have been to begin with. To me, that's a waste of time and effort.
Right.
So I don't think it's going to impact our ability to prosecute them, other than it's gonna drain more resources in dealing with these repetitive offenses at felony 4 and 5 levels.
Okay.
So it's gonna have.
So the
impact.
4 and 5s are truly 4 and 5s, they're not higher
No.
felonies that were pled down?
No.
Okay.
Shirley?
Shirley R. Johnson, Oberlin. I really think this is a very interesting document. There are several things I'd like to see added to it. Maybe, I think it's the kind of document that ought to go out in some way to public libraries and for other people to see. However, I also want to say that I was shocked to see what the salaries are, what we pay, not only our attorneys, but some of our other staff. I don't think people will understand that unless you more clearly explain what Mr. Curry tried to explain about the comparative salaries with private industry or private practice, and I think that should be clarified a little more. I think we all have to remember that justice delayed is justice denied, and justice depends on having not only good attorneys that know when to prosecute and how to prosecute, but when not to, and we need all the other facilities to be staffed with competent people, and we need to have some of those services. I wanted to joke a couple of weeks ago, but I didn't think you'd understand my joke at the time. It wasn't funny at the time. When the other court, the judge was explaining how the court load has increased so much. Everybody is so crazy about I've told Mr. Stamiti, this chief, about the patrol and the sheriff's department. Oh my goodness, we mustn't cut that. Well, maybe that's where we should start to cut. We'd have less cases going to court. Of course, that means a lot of other terrible things. But people that might complain and might want to realize they have to pay their tax. But I really think this is a good report. It maybe needs to be clarified and expanded in some way for publicity purposes. But I think the public should be seeing it someplace and somehow when you finally get organized, even before whether you get organized or not, about a campaign for your levy.
Thanks, Shirley. Actually, a wise attorney told me that 4 or 5 years ago, if we just lay off all the police and the sheriff's deputies for a month or two, we'll take care of all our monetary issues.
Right. You get a lot of complaints, but what's the difference?
We get complaints anyway, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Thank you. Any other questions, board? Anything from the audience? Thank you, prosecutor.
Thank you.
Corey?
Thank you.
Have a good one.
Well, I'm in here, and that's what this is.
Yeah, we're at.
We'll just have to reconvene from executive session. Commissioners reconvene from executive session. And Dr. Evans? Warner?
I gave you some things for the commissioners, just like an introduction kind of thing. As you know, we have had a major change in the coroner's office. Dr. Mattis, who served as a coroner for 18 and a half years, retired unexpectedly. And as of July 14th, I took over. Dr. Lockhart was retained. He was the only deputy coroner that would stay. And since that time, we've appointed 3 other deputy coroners. Dr. Frank Miller, who was the coroner in Cuyahoga County until recently, as a chief deputy coroner, and then just in the last couple days, Dr. John Daniels, who was with us previously, and he's relocated back to Ohio, and Dr. Craig Chappell, who, fortunately for us, the Lorain City Health Department merged with the Leary City Health Department, and so that made him available. And so we were able to add Dr. Chappell to get us back to the full complement of 4 deputy coroners that we had under Dr. Mattis. With the budget restraints that we have, that was a very difficult thing for me to do, and it took the entire month to get 4 people. In fact, I was turned down by 30 or 40 people going through my Rolodex to try to talk people into twisting their arms and helping out. But to some extent, most of the physicians that do this, because of the salary restraints, do as a public service, because obviously we can't pay them a physician's salary.
Can you let the public know what we're paying those guys per hour?
$9.62 an hour. So
I mean, it's ridiculous to be, you know, when we're at the scene of an accident or a murder or whatever, you know, we're the lowest paid person at the scene, which is unusual because most of these people are physicians. 2 of them are forensic pathologists, which, you know, that's the highest level you can get in coroner work and in pathology work, 2 of them. So the good news for us that, you know, before July, or before this month, we didn't have any pathologists for the city, for the county. Now we have 2 forensic pathologists. Now whether I'll be able to hold them or not is a whole different story, and that goes to the budget, whether or not we can at least keep them in Lorain County. Truthfully, for myself, it was a difficult decision to take over for Dr. Mattis because I understand the county has problems, and you know that reflects on the coroner's office as far as the fiscal restraint that we have. But the only 2 things that really allowed me to take it over and to try to do the job that Dr. Mattis has done, he's done an excellent job over the last 18 years, was that Dawn stayed, which definitely is more than a right-hand man. It's more a right and a left-handed man because she really runs the office. She's the office manager, and without her I couldn't do it. And also Dr. Miller joined us, who does 2 things. One, he was the Cuyahoga County coroner for 4 years, so he gives us a presence with someone who has experience of being a coroner at an even bigger county than ours. It also gives me someone to help with the autopsies and things of that nature. So I mean, truthfully, with the 4 people I've added, I feel very comfortable if we can keep this office the way it is right now, that we're going to well serve the county and well serve the people in the state of Lorain. Just to, because I know I know there's apples and oranges when you're comparing, you know, prosecutors and coroners and the different county services. You're comparing apples and oranges. Just to give you guys an idea, I did put in, because when I was going through the budget that actually was put together, the 2012 budget request was put together by Dr. Mattis back in May before he left. I went through for my own edification to try to get a handle on what should a coroner's budget be, or, you know, I can't compare myself to other departments in the county because obviously we're different than every other department. And so what I did was I went through some of the counties in Ohio. The 8th biggest county in Ohio is Butler County. Their budget for the coroner's office is $917,000. We're the 9th biggest county in Lorain, in Ohio. Our budget is $438,000. Mahoning County, which would be the 10th biggest county, this is population-wise, budget is $700,000. So just to give you an idea, when we're comparing apples to apples, I can't compare myself to other departments because we do different things, but I can compare ourselves to other county coroners that do the exact same thing, and I tried to pick the 2 one that was slightly bigger than us, one that was slightly smaller than us, to give you an idea of what a coroner's budget usually would be. As I said, Dr. Mattis is really the one that put together this budget, and I guess... Dr.
Evans, real quick.
Sure.
People watching it, could you go through and just give the numbers that you have?
Okay, and the other thing, yeah, I should explain also the difference in the numbers of autopsies. In Butler County, they did 214 autopsies. In Mahoning County, which is 50,000 population less than Lorain County, they did 175 autopsies. Last year in Lorain County, we did 28. Now that was a little bit of an embarrassment because we normally do about 50 autopsies a year. But still, we're doing 1/4 or 1/5 the number of autopsies the other counties are doing. And the reason for that is budgetary restraint. Dr. Mattis finished last year with, I think, $95 left in this budget and only did 28 autopsies because he didn't have the financial wherewithal to do any more autopsies. He did, you know, what he felt was the bare minimum. You can only do that so long. Sooner or later, that's going to catch up to you. You can't, you know, some of this stuff is mandated by the state. I mean, there are autopsies that are mandated by the state that I have to do, that I have no choice, that I have to do There are autopsies that I think are important for the county when someone dies unexpectedly. You know, is it a crime? Is it an infectious disease that the county should know about so that we can, you know, warn our population that there's a case of meningitis out there. So there are things that we should do, there are things that we have to do. Unfortunately, because of our budget last year, Dr. Mattis, as you can see, the numbers, he did the least number he could and still just barely made the budget. There's a point where you can't do that anymore, and that's, I'm afraid to say that's probably why Dr. Mattis retired, is that, you know, he realized that you can no longer do that. I mean, there comes a point where that you're going to get in trouble because you're going to miss things. You're not serving the public well if you're not, you know, investigating these deaths. They need to be investigated. Some of it, like I said, is state mandated, but some of it is also public mandated. That, you know, they need to know, you know, why somebody died. They need to know if it's unexpected. We see about somewhere between 1,800 and 2,000 deaths in Lorain County every year. About a little bit less than half of those are turned over to the coroner's office. So we're dealing with somewhere in the order of 800 to 1,000 deaths that are referred to us. We back that down to about 215, 210, something of that nature that we actually investigate. The 210 we investigated last year, we autopsied 28. Now, and like I said, that's a little bit of a variance because if you go back the last few years, it was 50, 51, 53. It's usually around 50. The reason that we're able to a little bit get less than Butler and Mahoning County is that we have a little bit of a different system that they do. And one of the systems that we have is that we have deputy coroners that are physicians. And so when we have a scene, we have a doctor at the scene. And with a doctor at the scene, lots of times we can determine what the cause of death is without a full autopsy. And so we are able to cut from 200s down to 50, which I think, you know, even then, you know, we're still pushing it, but at least we're being reasonable. We're doing a reasonable number of autopsies. We're in the 50 to 60 range. I think we're serving the public well by that. But the reason we're able to do that is because, unlike some of the other counties have investigators who aren't physicians, who actually cost more than our physicians, but they're not physicians, and so they're not able to determine cause of death. What the coroner's office is charged with by the state of Ohio is that I have to determine the manner and the cause of death. We have to determine why the person died, how they died. And lots of times if you have a doctor at the scene, you're able to do that. What other counties have done is they send, if anybody, an investigator to the scene, who then sends the body to the morgue, and then they do an autopsy. And so that's why they're doing 200 autopsies where we're doing 50. It serves the patients and the public well by us doing the way we do it because we do have experienced physicians, like in our case we have 2 pathologists and actually a third one that's on contract, that often are going to the scene and able to determine the cause of death, you know, right at the scene without doing a full autopsy. That saves the county tremendous amount of money because once we do the autopsy, that's where the high costs come in doing an autopsy. Those can cost up to $2,000 when you throw in the cost of the autopsy, the pathology, the slides, the blood, and everything else that we have to do when we do a full autopsy. The cost would be just astronomical. If you're doing over 200 autopsies and it's costing you $2,000, there's $400,000 right there. That's before we even opened the doors of the office and hired anybody. So Dr. Mattis, you know, I have to plug him that he's done an excellent job and he's kept the budget, you know, a lot less than surrounding counties, and he's done an excellent job also. I mean, I've been with him as a deputy coroner for 18.5 years, and you know, I was proud of the work that the coroner's office did over those 18.5 years. I think Dr. Mattis did an excellent job, and I'm hoping that we're going to be able to follow through with what he started and continue. You know, I've said already that I can't replace Dr. Mattis. I mean, he has skills, he has knowledge after 18 years. This is a big loss for us losing 2 deputies and Dr. Mattis, because that's an experience that, you know, I can't replace Dr. Mattis. I can follow in his footsteps. I can't replace him. He has 18 years of experience of being a coroner. It'll be 18 years, and I don't think I'll still be doing this in 18 years, but it would take me 18 years to get up to his level. He also had a skill of doing autopsies himself, which is unusual for a coroner unless they're a forensic pathologist, but he had a skill that he had developed over 18 years and he was able to do it. So again, he was able to save the county some money by doing some of the things in-house by himself.
Let me
I
ask
think
you a
that's
quick question.
introduction.
The 28 autopsies, I'm sure, does not reflect the out-of-county autopsies that are life flighted, say, to Vetro?
Correct. Some of those in days gone by were sent out. What we're hoping to do, because now I have 2 pathologists, is we're hoping to do everything in the county. That serves the county quite well because, number one, it'll save the county some money because we have more expenses when we send them out. It also serves the county in that we have a quicker turnaround. When you send your autopsies to other locations, you lose control of that autopsy. So now they may say, well, we'll get back to you in 6 weeks, or we'll get back to you in 8 weeks, or I have no control over when they're going to get back to us.
It's 15.
Pardon?
It's 15 weeks.
Oh, yeah, I mean, it's an extended period of time. And
It's not really answering
No,
the
it's
question.
not.
I will answer that
Okay.
No, they
question.
do it, but, you know, they're waiting on slides, and, you know, it's a big process. Whereas when we're doing it ourselves, you know, we're doing it in a more timely manner. When we're sending it out, you have the police departments, if this is a homicide or crime, waiting on these results. You have loved ones, which is terrible. If a loved one's waiting on the results of an autopsy for 15 weeks, I mean, that's a terrible thing. And so I think the improvement that we're able to make is that because, I mean, some of this is fortunate. I was fortunate Dr. Miller became available because they switched the county government in Cuyahoga County. So this was an unusual thing to get someone of the stature of Dr. Miller to come with us. And Dr. Daniels, who's also a pathologist, a forensic pathologist, moved back to the area. He actually just moved back in July. And so and he's originally from this area. So, and he moved back to be near his family. And so 2 things we lucked out in, that we have 2 forensic pathologists that normally, I mean, you know, we're pretty well staffed right now.
No, Dawn understood what I was trying to get at. When a person is life flighted,
We have
say a
no-
car accident, we don't have any control over
We
that.
have absolutely no control over it.
Right.
The ORC just simply states that when an injury occurs in one county and the death occurs in the other, the county in which the injury occurred will also incur the expense of the
Right.
autopsy.
But
We have
normally, if
nothing
it's
to do with
a
that.
car accident, we wouldn't do an autopsy, but it's like a gravy train for Cuyahoga County. When we life flight our residents to, you know, to them, they're automatically doing an autopsy because they know they can bill us for that.
Well, I just wondered, what is the cost? What do they charge?
Like 2,000, 1,600, 2,000?
Well,
$1,200 for the ones we don't ask for.
But then also there can be charges for transportation.
Right.
Charges for there can be charges over top of that.
Okay.
That's a base.
And there's no way to get an agreement with
That's the
surrounding
agreement.
That's the
counties.
agreement.
That is the agreement.
Yeah, and that's less than what they normally charge. I mean, you know, they're giving us, actually, they think.
That's a discount?
A deal. And that's the difference between
We don't have a
Cuyahoga
trauma center
County
here.
and Lorain County in that, and that's what I was trying to explain in some of these other counties, in that what they do is they autopsy Dr. Miller was, you'll love this, Dr. Miller was the Cuyahoga County coroner. His budget was $12 million. Now, I know we can't compare ourselves to Cuyahoga County because they're 4 times bigger. 4 times bigger, 4 in the 12 is $3 million. So to be equivalent to them, we'd be in the $3 million range. We're in the $400,000, $500,000 range. We're not anywhere near there. The difference between them is they autopsy everybody. They do 1,800 autopsies a year. We're doing 50. They're doing 1,800. And the reason they do that is because of the system they have. The system they have is anybody that dies, they just send them to the morgue and they autopsy them. They don't investigate, whereas we do it a little bit different, and and the reason Dr. Massa set up this system is it serves the county well. We do get, you know, adequate reasons and causes of death, but at the same time, we're not bulking the county for hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars for, you know, 200 or more
Unnecessary.
autopsies. Right.
Right.
And plus, the people, you know, they want to move on. You know, they want to have their funerals. They don't want us doing unnecessary autopsies. The public doesn't. And so, you know, we've put it down to bare bones. I mean, we're doing ones that we feel, you know, are important for the county. We're doing ones that we think, you know, they're mandated by the state, but ones we think will benefit the county, that, you know, there's, you know, we had a 17-year-old young man just die recently. You know, when young people die, you know, unexpectedly, you need to find out why. I mean, you know, it serves the family, it serves the public to know, is there a danger out there? Is there a crime? Is there a danger to the rest of the public, a disease? And so, you know, we're kind of stuck that, you know, we have to do, we've cut it to the bone, and that's what Dr. Mattis has tried to do over the years, and I think finally, you know, realize that there comes a point where you're putting his reputation and now, unfortunately, my reputation at stake, that if we don't do the things that we absolutely have to do, you know, we're like the offensive lineman in football. No one thinks about the corner's office. You know, we're there, and everybody knows we're there, but nobody ever thinks about us until there's a mistake made, until there's a problem made, and all of a sudden that offensive lineman is getting a 15-yard penalty. All of a sudden, you know, we're in the news. All of a sudden my reputation's at stake, the commissioner's reputation at stake, the county's reputation at stake. We need to do, you know, a good job for our county and for our public. And like I said, I believe Dr. Mass did a tremendous job and, you know, tried his best to bring everything in with the best budget that he could. And so we're trying to continue on with that service, but it is a challenge. It is a challenge.
Now, I was also told that you would like to have your office in Elyria.
You know, I'm open to what, you know, the commissioners want to do. I live in the northern part of the county, you know, and so, you know, I'm willing to work with the commissioners or where they want to put the office, and certainly Mr. Cordes, you know, I can meet with him and see what the possibilities are. Certainly the office that they have in Oberlin is a very nice office. It has the space that you need. It's a very nice office. I'm not against that office. I think some of the benefit to the previous coroner was that it was closer to his location, and, you know, the coroner is running into that office all the time. I mean, I'm in and out of the office, you know, a good deal of time, you know, and sometimes at night, you know, because, you know, that's the thing about the coroner's office versus some of the other offices. You know, we're there 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. We're there on holidays, we're there on weekends, we're there every day. And we have to, you know, sometimes run into the office. And so that was a more convenient thing, I think, for Dr. Mass, being, you know, proximate to his home. To me, since I live in the northern part of the county, it's not, you know, close to my home. Elyria is closer to my home. But I'm open, you know, that's not a sticking point for me. I'm willing to, whatever is best for the county, as long as we have the space that we need, and, you know, I guess.
It's accessible to people at all hours.
Because we do have family members meeting with us, and so it has to be accessible. It has to be a safe, you know, safe neighborhood, you know, so that, you know, my staff of one is safe, and
I'm there by myself all the time.
And family members, you know, feel safe coming to the office too.
Absolutely.
So maybe a county building wouldn't be if you're talking weekends and evenings.
Right, it's got to be accessible, absolutely.
One Park Landing.
And also, I think we need to be sensitive to the fact that these families are dealing with a traumatic life experience here.
One Park
And
Landing
to walk
building
through,
locks down at 5 o'clock. You have to have a key, or 5:30 is when they lock down. So it's got to
walk
be
through a
something.
building past several offices and things is not, it's not a nice thing to do to our citizens.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they're not coming to file a deed.
Right.
Yeah.
So
I think one of the reasons too that Oberlin has been so good, not only Dr. Mattis was there, but we have all of the agencies, Ohio State Highway Patrol, all of the police departments. It's easy for everyone to get there because it is central to Lorain County. And so everyone can easily get there. The parking is good, the neighborhood is awesome. You know, it's a safe and friendly, very accessible place all the time.
Jerry, was there an issue that the coroner's office had to be in the county seat at one point? Did we?
There, There was some disagreement about that, but they've changed the law and clarified that you can,
It could be
you can do
anywhere.
that.
Okay.
If you want to put it in Sheffield Lake, it'd be fine with me.
Okay. We'll ask Pisker if he's got a building he'd like to donate to us.
We got a whole shopping center.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that shopping center, we could use
Yeah.
us in 4 dollar stores.
Right.
Wow, okay.
Get free electric there,
I was gonna say,
probably.
generate the windmill.
Yeah, we
We
get
got
the
electric.
electric.
Doctor, you're asking for an increase in your numbers?
Yeah, some of the, I think there's a couple things that, you know, again, I mean, I've only been on the job for 2 weeks.
That's
and this
actually
was-
good. You're not jaded yet.
Yeah, I guess. Some of the things that we've gone through that Dr. Mattis did that actually we thought could cut a little bit, but it's not significant cuts. I don't know if we're going through the line by line, but utilities, you know, that was $8,000, but that was, at the point he was doing it, there was a combination of phone service and internet service and other things, and that actually, Donna and I figured could go back to the $4,000 that, right.
Right. That we've been maintaining.
The staff training, or no, I'm sorry, the advertising and printing, he had put it $500. I think probably could go to $200 easily. Some of that we have to do because, you know, we're handing out cards now that's Dr. Mattis, and we're sending envelopes that are Dr. Mattis. I mean, there is a changeover. We have to change, you know, the cards and the envelopes and the things that the office does. So that can't, we have to do something about that.
Can't you scratch it out, use some white out?
Yeah, yeah.
I've scratched a
Big
few.
X, big X. I'm trying to think what else I mean, it's kind of minor changes from what his thing was. The two big differences that he put in there was the salaries, which was the import of what I was saying, trying to keep, you know, the 4 deputies that I have. My salary's fixed, Don's isn't changing. Trying to keep 2 pathologists and 2 deputy coroners is the reason that he bumped up that salary, because at $9 an hour, you're not going to keep these people very long. And what we're trying to avoid is the revolving door of coroners and deputies, because that's not serving the county well if we're, you know, we turn over coroners and we turn over deputies. We need to at least give them enough money, because it's still, after you back that down, after you take out the Don's salary, you're still paying the doctors in a doctor's salary peanuts, you know, not significant to what their education and their training is. And the other thing is the professional services was the other big change that he made. And that's because we're planning on doing a lot of these autopsies. There's costs that we have from the hospital to do these autopsies. There's costs for a diener, which we do on a contract basis. We're going to be doing more than 28 autopsies. I can't do, you know, we're going to get in trouble. I'm going to get in trouble if I only do 28 autopsies. You know, we're going to miss things. You know, the state will be, disappointed in us. The public will be disappointed in us. You know, we're not going to do 200 autopsies like the 2 counties that are near us, but we're going to be doing more than 28. I mean, we're going to be doing 50 or more, you know, 50, 60, 70. And again, that's not predictable because, you know, I can't tell you there isn't going to be a gang fight in Lorain today and 3 people are going to get killed or whatever. You know, the number of autopsies we do is going to be variable. You know, it depends on, you know, when people, you know, die unexpectedly. And really, those are the ones we do. The homicides, obviously, we do. You know, the babies on 2 years old and under, we do, because these are all state mandated things. People who die of an accident at work, you know, that's
In jail.
You know, in jail. We just had an unfortunate person who passed away in custody. Those are mandated. You know, I can't say no. I mean,
Well,
even
speaking
if I
of those,
wanted
Dr. Evans, if I can interrupt, we just had a 17-year-old who drowned in Avon Lake, was a Cleveland resident.
Right.
How was that handled? Are we required to do an autopsy and then bill them back, or how is that
No,
handled?
because the injury occurred in Lorain County, and so did the death. The only time that the autopsy can be charged,
Oh, it's when it's one and then the other.
Mhm.
Okay, all right then.
injury occurs in a county, death occurs in another.
Okay.
And because they've got Metro, the trauma center, and we don't, although I think Amherst might be trying to turn itself into a trauma center, nobody sends anybody to Lorain County.
Right. It's all export.
Right.
Exactly. So, unless you guys want to start a trauma center, we might be able to make some money.
Most of our other costs are fixed. Obviously, the public employees' retirement is fixed, it's 14%. Unemployment compensation is given to us. These are figures that are given to us. We don't have a control over those figures. Supplies are things like needles and gloves and things like that that you have to have.
Paper would be nice and labels.
Lab
Buy
services,
garbage
again, those are, we send toxicology. You have to have
And the
those
janitor,
on
too.
a lot of cases, drug overdoses and things of that nature. That cost went up to us, the service that we use, Quest,
I need 'em.
up their prices. In fact, that was one of the things that's higher this year because we ran out of money in that department thing last year and had to switch over Peter to pay Paul last year. And we've looked at other places to see, will somebody else do this for us cheaper, and nobody would. So Quest was the best, but.
Not only that, their turnaround time is awesome. Other labs that I've checked with, it takes two weeks or so to get results back on toxicology. If you've got someone that needs to be cremated, you cannot wait 2 weeks. Our turnaround time with Quest is 5 days, depending on what they get a hit on. If it's opiates, then it takes a little longer to quantitate, but for the most part, they're quick, and they have a courier that comes to our office, which is awesome. Everybody else does FedEx.
And they're nationally known and nationally accepted as, quality. I mean.
They're the best.
We're, a lot of things that we're doing, like on Bloods and God Touch Lips, some of them are criminal cases. And, these are going to court. I mean, we have to have values that, come from a legitimate place that we can defend in court, that no, this is in fact what was found in the blood, and these are the levels, and, and so, so a lot of this stuff is fixed that, I have no,
Transports, we have no idea how many people we're gonna need to transport.
and that's, a significant cost, and as you know, I mean, they haven't really raised our rates, but their costs have gone up, for gas and
Gas.
everything else.
The
have
bags
gone
have
up.
also gone up for our transport service.
And so, again, that's kind of a fixed cost. We have no control over. They're already, doing the county a great favor by doing it at the cost that they're doing it. It's a job that, if there is a job that is one of the worst jobs in the county, that's it. Being the person that has to transport, because a lot of the cases that we get are difficult for people to be in the room with, or to go in even to the house with. And these gentlemen that work for this livery service do a tremendous job for us. Again, I thank God that they're with us because they do a great job. And they didn't really raise it. It's just the numbers, it's a numbers game that we have so many that we have to transport. And I guess if Dr. Mass was saying it the last time he was here, it's not like we have a choice. I mean, we have to move these bodies. We can't leave them.
Any questions, board? I think we're all aware of what the issues are with the coroner's office, but again, we've got budget constraints, and your budget is so small. I mean, it's you and the recorder and probate. It's just such small budgets. There's not a whole lot there to work with, so. Well, we will be calling you. We put a sales tax on the ballot for November, so we'll be asking all the elected officials for support, because it all goes towards criminal justice. That includes the coroner's office. So. I don't have any more questions. Anyone from the audience wishing to address our new coroner, Dr. Evans? Wonderful. Thanks, Doc. Thanks, Don.
Thank you.
Have a good one.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
We're back on August 31st.
Yeah, August 31st, we'll be
You
meeting
guys will
talking
be
about the
back here.
budget issues.
Oh, I'm not certain whether Dr. Evans will actually be available that day.
Change my schedule to do that.
All right, appreciate
Thank
it,
you.
John. Have a good one.
Nice to meet you.
I'll entertain a motion to go back into executive session with our administrator and our prosecutor.
I will second.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Williams?
Brad,
This has been a broadcast of the recent Lorain County Commissioners' General Meeting. Unless otherwise announced, meetings are held Wednesday morning at 9:30 at the Administration Building, 226 Middle Avenue, 4th floor, downtown Elyria. These are public meetings, and you are invited to attend. Agendas are posted prior to the meeting at www.loraincounty.us. Click on Departments to see the Commissioners page, then click on View Agenda for a printable copy of the agenda.